I'm Peter Marks, a theater critic once upon a time, now trying to make it as an actor.
Oh my goodness, I never thought I would hear those words, but here we are. And I'm Elizabeth Finchantelli. I write theater reviews and features on theater and other things, many other things for the New York Times. So, congratulations to you, our listeners, for clicking on Marks and Finchantelli, the podcast that takes you on a voyage around the world of the theater.
Oh, so beautifully put, Elizabeth.
I'm feeling poetic today.
Yes, you are. You're lyrical. We're back for an episode exploring today a time-tested musical comedy that seems to be doing very well indeed off-Broadway.
Oh, yes.
At the moment. It's the revival of the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. And if I'm not mistaken, the first big revival since the original production.
Yes, which was in 2005 on Broadway.
It's a staple around the country of theater companies, so many of you probably know it. And we're lucky today to have two of the production's stellar actors, Lilli Cooper and Jason Kravitz, to discuss the ins and outs of the show that requires them to bring, among other things, audience members onto the stage to be part of the ensemble.
And of course, Peter, because you cannot be stopped from jumping on any stage you can at this point. You were on stage when you went to see the show. You were one of the 4 guest spellers that night. And so you're going to talk to us a little bit about that, I'm sure.
No. I'm too shy for that kind of self-promotion.
That's such a lie. But you know what? It's a good line. You become a good actor. I almost believed you. So Lilli and Jason are going to talk about their roles in the show. And they play the adults. So it's spelling bee for kids, obviously. And they play the adults who are running the contest. That's Rona Lisaparetti, who's a former winner in the show, and Vice Principal Douglas Penge. And so if you're unfamiliar with the musical, which is by Rachel Sheinkin and the late William Finn, much missed William Finn. So it really does unfold like a real spelling bee with, flights of melodic fantasy by each of the contestants. And I mean by that, the real ones, not the quote-unquote real ones, not the guests.
Right.
The guests don't have to sing. And among the actors in the current production, we have Justin Cooley, Kevin McHale, Jasmine Amy Rogers. It's a fantastic cast. It's one of my favorite. If I had to recommend, if you're visiting New York and you're like, I don't know what to see, I have kids or not, actually, that is one that I would wholeheartedly recommend. It's a great production.
Yeah, it really, really still works. It's joyful and it's completely takes you out of yourself for 95 minutes or however it runs. And Lilli, who was seen on Broadway in POTUS, the play, the comedy, and was Tony nominated for the musical Tootsie, and Jason, who's a longtime theater veteran and TV series regular, you'll recognize his face, will tell us what it takes to keep a musical theater perennial fresh and funny night after night.
And it's tough for them, too, because there's quite a bit of improv.
Yeah.
Because they have to steer the show.
Yeah, we're going to talk to them about exercising that muscle nightly on stage. You've really got to be on it. You got to be focused and on it. You can't go away and just rely on your lines. You've got to be listening, which is also obviously a really good thing for an actor to do. So let's get to it. Welcome, Lilli and Jason.
Guys, welcome to the podcast. My first question would be what was your connection or knowledge of the show before you actually were in it? Because it's opened on Broadway almost 20 years ago, and it's done a lot around the country. It's a very popular show for good reason. Had you been in it before, or what did you know about it?
I had never seen it, actually, back in the day, 20 years ago. I had listened to some of the albums, so I was familiar with the music, but I really had never encountered it personally. So I was super excited to dive in with fresh ears and eyes.
I was doing Drowsy Chaperone at the same time this was on Broadway, and I got to know a lot of the people involved with it, Sarah Salzberg and Jay and Dan Fogler and, just all these people that became we were all doing shows at the same time, and I was really excited for the success. So I knew it back then, but barely, it's I just remember, I don't even know if I got to see it. I think I was working at this, we were parallel. So I think I saw them on the Tonys or something, and that was about all I knew about it. But I knew all of them. I'm still friends with several of them. So I have a weird connection just having been paralleling them with another show.
Did you know the director? I mean, I always wonder, you know, when you walk into a rehearsal room for the first time, obviously on a comedy that requires so much timing, so much being in sync, I think, you know, rhythmically to the comedy. Had you both worked with Danny Mefford before, or was this a fresh collaboration?
I had worked with him at City Center, but he was the choreographer. So I hadn't worked with him in a directorial setting yet, but we had a great time doing City Center, but it was such a kind of whirlwind quick thing, you know, only over 2 weeks. So we didn't really get to know each other very well, but I was, you know, excited to see his face back in the audition room and loved working with him as a director. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, I didn't know him at all. I literally, my audition was literally a 10-minute Zoom call with him about 3 weeks before the whole thing began. And I was on my way to Italy for a vacation, and we just had a nice chat, and he was like, that's great. And both of us had a lot of faith in each other. We both asked questions, and then, you know, do you do improv? What's your experience? And I was asking him about the character and what he plans on doing with it and what the difference was with this show from the original. And, you know, it was just like, okay, let's jump in and see what happens. So I loved working with him. He was great.
Did they test your improv mettle in any way? Because for the roles that you two have, that's pretty important because you really have to be really good at reading the room and adapting to what's going on because you have a lot of things that are changing in every show. So, and that's not a given. I mean, an actor can be great, and then, you know, when you have to go a little off-road, it's like, that's something else.
I gotta say, Lilli probably does more of the improv than I do. My jokes are mostly written ahead of time, except for if there's new guest spellers like Peter was, but I still write that ahead of time. Lilli's the one who's constantly like coming up with new stuff. And then I think we're both kind of steering the show, the first half of the show especially. And there is a lot of, you know, back and forth and play that we both have to do. But he just asked if I'd done improv before, and I gave him a little bit of background on that. But I had no other, you know, there was no other like test run for this. It was really kind of being thrown to the alligators.
Yeah, we didn't play any improv games in our audition, but I think that they kind of just got lucky in that sense. Like I didn't talk at all about my improv background, which I don't really have one, but I love improv. I love to do it, and it's so much fun. It's a fun muscle to flex in this show, particularly. But I remember like day 5 or 6 of rehearsal, Danny came up to me and was like, so, you know, we never really talked about this, but how do you feel about improv? And I was like, I mean, you know, I'm game. I'm here.
Yep.
And we just got to kind of play around a little bit in the rehearsal room. And he's like, yeah, I think you get the gist. I think you get the vibe. And he has really trusted me to take it as far as I want to go in terms of teasing our audience
And
members.
that can be pretty far.
And sometimes I could go a little too far.
No, never too far. It just goes far enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if Lilli, if you had the same experience, but in the process in the rehearsal room, it was very hard to tell what was the reality of doing the show. We didn't know. So we had these things. I was like, well, what do we do if the first person spells the word wrong, and should we get this person out, and how do we do that? And we have to have contingency plans. We had flow charts. Okay, if A, then B, then C. And then finally, it's like, it went out the window. It's like, oh, once we started having people on stage, we were like, okay, we can adjust on the fly. We've had moments where we know which guest star we want to get out. We have to get everybody out eventually. So we have, who do we want to keep until the end? Who do we want to, you know, who's fun to watch? Who's overacting? Pointing at Peter. No, you didn't do that. No, but, you know, I was really nervous during the process because it felt like I had no idea what was going to happen when we actually had strangers on stage and had to adjust for it. But it became really second nature pretty quickly for both of us.
Yeah.
That's interesting. One of the rewards of the show as an audience member is understanding how smart the actors are. You know, it's not always available to an audience because when things are obviously by rote to a certain degree, you know that you're dealing with intelligence on a stage, but the smartness, the quickness with which you guys handle the material, it's like a bonus for an audience, and understanding that that's happening and seeing in your eyes the intelligence happening is something that really feeds the joy on the night. So that is essential. And it's interesting to me to hear that, of course, in the rehearsal room, you couldn't replicate that because there's nobody to play off of. I'm amazed. And I understand also that once you get in that groove during the run of the show, you know how to guide us. You know how to take care of us on the stage as guest spellers, which is also something, again, puts the entire audience at ease, because they don't know that you know. They don't know. And I wonder, though, are there situations that have come up where it even surprises you? I mean, are there people who, think it's their moment and therefore want to take it away from you? And how do you handle that?
Yes. The answer
Yes.
is yes.
The answer is yes. I think that this speaks a lot to like the chemistry of the company, because we have a great chemistry with one another. And we have, through the run of the show, have developed this ability to communicate with each other without even speaking. So a guest speller will walk up, totally ham it up. Jason and I literally just clock each other and we're like, let's get this guy out because he sucks.
Gone. Gotta go. Gotta go.
And we know we're on the same page. Like, we know that we totally understand that this guy needs to get out. And then, our spellers, the other actors on stage, feel the same way.
That's great.
Yeah, and you won't see it as much, but the other actors on stage are also working diligently in those sections with the guest stars.
Sure.
They're the ones telling the guest stars, as you know, Peter, what to ask for when they get up there, and telling them where to stand, where to go, and they take care of them really well too. And sometimes we can clock the other actors in the show going, what's going on up there? Is that person, and there's been a couple, it doesn't happen that often, I guess, but there's been a couple people that were just like, oh, how quickly can we get this person off the stage? There are people who come up and they put on a character, and they're told not to, and they'll put on a character like they're trying to be a child.
Yeah.
And you're like,
my
don't do
God.
that. Don't do that. Just be yourself. The audience wants you to be yourself. We're all rooting for you. But when you start doing that, we're like, nope, not your show, not your show, our show. And Lilli, I have to say, has more, because she comments on them and has more of a relationship with kind of being the host for the audience. Yeah, she can say things to put them in their place.
I love this.
It's pretty fun to be part of.
Right. I try to sometimes say things to either kind of put them in a place to realize, like, calm down, this isn't about you, or to even try to make them a little bit more comfortable. And that I think in the opposite end of the spectrum of people trying to ham it up, there are also people who cannot wait to get off that stage. And it is our sweet, amazing comfort counselor, Matt Manuel's job to keep them on stage sometimes, particularly our last guest speller. And there are some like nervous little kiddos who just want to bounce. They just want to run. And sweet Matt has to literally hold onto them and sing this song to their faces before they run off the stage.
Yeah, but that goes right to the point that it seems like it's Lilli and I. We're kind of organizing the show, certainly, but it seems like Lilli and I are the only ones that are really kind of like, how do you mess with the guest stars? How do you play with them? How do you make them feel comfortable? It's the whole company, and we do have such a lovely group of people up there. Liana Ray Concepcion and Kevin McHale and Justin Cooley, as well as Matt, that just all work to take care of these people and make the show work. And it's to their credit, too, that they do it kind of in a more surreptitious way.
So basically the idea, just for the listeners, like the idea is like, if you realize, okay, we need to get that person out, like basically you'd give them like a really hard word and then they have to leave. That's the idea. Have you had people who were surprisingly good spellers and were kind of hanging on, or are the words so hard that if you really want to get rid of them?
I have words that will be hard to spell, and I have words that are basically impossible to spell unless you are so super, super smart that you know ridiculous foreign phrases with medical conditions. So I have a weird variety of things that I can do to get people out. But Lilli and I have been like, we have to get that. We're going to skip around. We're not going to go in order. We're skipping around to get that person out now before they take all the air out of the room. And we have very specific ways of getting people out.
I thought it was like, there are specific chairs that you have that are for the guest spellers, and that
There are.
dictates the
Generally speaking, that is there is an order. Yes, that's right. But if we're at the beginning of the row and that person at the end of the row, we want to get out sooner than that, we'll just skip. And I'll say, Lily, we're going to skip. I'm going to skip to this person. She's like, do it. Get that person gone.
I love this.
And then it's this symbiotic kind of organism that we're creating where, I'll be singing something and Jason will be, ravishly writing down the order of the people that we're going to go in. And I peek at it really quick so that I understand who's next. And then,
Brilliant.
It's all of this kind of we're quickly trying to inform each other before the next line,
And although I have to say we love doing it, at the halfway point where all the guest spellers are out, we both just go, oh, thank God that the hard part's done.
Yeah, it's a relief.
Now the show just takes itself. We don't have to worry about the guest spellers anymore.
This is fascinating because you have to become kind of mini directors. You have to have a macro consciousness of what's going to work and how it's going to work. If that didn't happen, you could lose control of what's happening, or at least make less. So it's really interesting the degree to which you two have to be synced to each other.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there are 75 things going on in our brain at once because it's not just about saying our lines and singing our lines and standing in the right place. It's, for me specifically, it's about like, okay, I have 4 people that I have to create a description for, possibly 2, and I need to create those descriptions within the 20 seconds that I have before I have my next line to sing.
Brilliant.
So my brain is 5 places at once, and then I'm checking the notepad that we have between Jason and I, or sometimes we'll like make a joke to each other and I laugh, but I can't laugh for too long because then I have to jump into my next line, So it's a lot of stuff to kind of organize in our brains.
Yeah, and I'm trying to decide, will that person be able to spell myrrh or not? Because if they do and they spell it right, then they're in, and I have to give them a different word next time. And what order is that? So there's a lot of decision making happening at any given moment for the first half of the show.
Yeah, I remember there was a doctor once that was like, oh, she's a doctor. She's going to be able to spell some medical stuff. So we got to do something else, We
got to do something other than that. Absolutely. Yeah, we just have a very weird variety. We had somebody misspell pineapple once, and I was like, there's a joke that was from the original show that if you really want to keep that person in,
right,
you can make an excuse for their misspelling, saying, I was at a bar last night and that's how it was spelled on the menu, so yes, we'll keep them in. Something like that. So when that person came up again, I was like, I'm going to give them a really hard word because they'll never be able to spell it, and I gave them Worcestershire. And they spelled it. And I was so mad. I was like, how do you misspell pineapple and then come back and spell Worcestershire correctly?
Oh, I love this. I love that they throw it back in your face, kind of, and then that's delicious.
And then it becomes a little bit of a thing because I think then my character gets a little bit pissy about, oh yeah, so you think you can spell that? Okay, let's give you another one, and that's just changes the tenor of the thing, so it's fun.
And Jason, you also have to come up with sentences to put the word in context. Like, do you have a set? I was completely fooled, or I completely bought it. You were making them up on the spot, which is
good.
How much I was buying the whole conceit.
The note cards in front of me didn't give it away that I was reading. At least.
Well, yes, but I don't know. I was like, oh God, he's really amazing. He's coming up with all this crap on the spot.
Thank you. Good.
But do you have some leeway, or is that pretty much it? Because it sounds like you have some elbow room in terms of the words. So then you have to bounce back into the definition or the context.
Yeah, I have list of words, definitions, and use in a sentence. And in this show, the use in the sentence is always the punchline of the.
Right.
It's a joke. It's a punchline of some kind most of the time. So it's very hard to do that on the fly. It's very hard to go, oh, I've got a word and I've got a joke. I mean, I've done it every once in a great while when we have a guest speller that everybody knows and I want to give them something fun.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time I try to write them beforehand. I don't write many of them anymore. I've got a nice list going that the thing I have to do more than anything is just choose which word to give which person and the description and the sentence that goes with it. So it's not quite as improvisational in the moment as what Lily's doing, which is commenting on everybody and making those notes after she gets on stage. Most of my stuff is written ahead of time. But I'm glad it looks like it's not. That's good.
So speaking of Lilli, I do want to ask a little bit about each of you and your careers. Lilli, I've seen you on stage several times, and always you're a chameleon. You're always different.
Yeah.
You always present as a new and fresh character. And you're from this acting family.
Right.
Your father is the great Chuck Cooper. Your brothers Alex and Eddie are both performers. In fact, we saw both of us. I think we both saw you, Chuck and Eddie, in Encore's production of Titanic.
Yeah.
Is this like, were you preordained to be an actor? I mean, was this something that kind of, from a very young age, you were not expected, but you determined that you were going to be doing this?
Yes, I think absolutely. I think I felt from a very young age, never pressured or really encouraged to enter the business, but felt a calling, felt like it was part of me. It was part of my blood. It was part of my history and my family, and just loved it so deeply from childhood. I think it came as a little bit of a surprise to my parents because I wasn't performing when I was really little. I was super shy, so I wasn't expressing any interest in wanting to do musical theater. I was more of a dancer when I was a young kid, and then I transferred to a performing arts middle school. And I remember I did a production of Godspell, and my parents had never heard me sing before, and so they came to see me in Godspell. They were like, "I hope she's good," They really didn't know, and they told me after, they were like, "We were so relieved because I sang," and they're like, "Oh, phew, thank God she's done."
And Jason, you, as I have told other people, you were legendary in DC. When I was a critic, people would say, "Oh, but you didn't see Jason Kravitz in Nikki Silver's play at Woolly Mammoth. You really missed something special." So your story, though, is different, I assume. You're not from an acting family?
Well, I kind of am in a way, although it was different than the professional acting family that Lilli was part of. My father worked for IBM, but he was doing community theater since I was a kid. So we were all very involved in kind of every aspect of theater from a young age, from like working the concession booth to ticket sales to building sets to, running sound and performing. And my brother's also an actor. He and I were in Drowsy Chaperone on Broadway together, playing brothers, playing the
Really?
the gangster brothers. Yeah, I'm not making it up.
Wow, I don't think I knew that.
And he's done the last thing he did on Broadway was getting the band back together a few years ago. He lives upstate now, and he runs a theater school for kids. My older sister still lives in the DC area. She's a musical director for a lot of mostly non-professional theaters, but some, and she runs her own theater school for kids.
So you are an acting family.
Yeah, my younger sister was a dancer. She's a first grade teacher now. And we were just always involved in the theater. We were just doing it from a very young age. And I never really thought about doing anything else. I went to school for theater, and then I got out in Maryland and lived in DC for 6 years doing a lot of theater, writing for theater for young audiences and performing and working with a lot of people that I'm sure you know really well, and was company member at Woolly and a company member at Roundhouse for a while. And really, it was my grad school. I learned a lot of things. I got to work with some amazing people like Nikki Silver. It was fantastic. And had a great time, and then moved to New York and everything stopped because that's how it works. And then I started writing my own material and got to LA with that. And then I started getting television work, and that's what kind of jump-started my career, and then I could come back to New York and work, because you need to go to LA to work to come to New York.
Yeah, of course.
So I've been doing this for my entire life, and with a lot of encouragement from family, and have a lot of great memories of the DC scene. Still, it's very much my hometown still. Yeah,
of course.
30 years later, whatever it is. Yeah.
I was curious. I had a question for Lilli, because I've seen you several times, and you seem to have a particular, not that I don't want to imply that you're limited to that, but you are particularly good at comedy.
Thank you.
Like, I love Tootsie. Tootsie was like probably one of my favorite shows that year.
Yeah.
But you have like a really good sense of timing, and you can't train that. You have it or you don't.
Right.
And of course, you were great in that show that has become a running joke on this podcast because I can't pronounce it correctly, but you were in SpongeBob.
Yes.
And
Wow, you didn't say it the way you usually say
How do
it.
you usually say it?
She says SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. I love it.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
Have you always had like this affinity for comedy? Like, is that again like it's something people have it or they don't, and you totally have it?
Yeah, I think I've always kind of felt like a class clown. My family's very, very funny. We all try to out funny each other and make each other laugh. My dad is so silly, and from a young age, we would always make these like little videos at home, like little comedy sketches. And so I do think that it was something that I was kind of raised with, and I've always loved comedy. And I think it's a fun challenge. I think it's really hard, and it feels very mathematical to me. And I've always been very drawn to math. And for some reason, they are connected in my mind because it has a lot to do with timing and a lot to do with waiting for applause and laughter to die down the perfect amount before you come in and the perfect amount of time before you respond to another person's line. And it's really fun to play with that. Like that's the most exciting part about it for me is in live theater, if you fail, I mean, failing sometimes is more fun than succeeding. Like a lot of times in the show, when I try to say something funny about people and it is crickets, that is the most fun for us because the cast is dying on stage. Like it's so hilarious. And then, I take that into account and I think, okay, well, that one didn't work. How do I make it work better tomorrow? So it's always been a fun challenge for me. And I've always been deeply drawn to comedy.
Yeah, let's not talk about the Titus Andronicus joke that never, no one in the audience ever gets. I had a joke that involved Titus Andronicus.
But I loved it.
And then I was just like, literally, the last time I tried it, it went so badly. I just took the card and I ripped it, put it under the desk. The end.
Not a mainstream knowledge base.
Not a
for
reference,
People.
no.
You were talking about some people who really can't wait to get off the stage and others who are hugging it. Are there tricks to make them feel at ease? The ones who you feel you can see are really nervous or at the same time, it's a volunteer position. They volunteer to go. So
yeah, I kind of have the mentality of like, you signed up for this.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to be open to whatever comes to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a theater participation that you were willing to participate in. And so I love to disarm people by kind of teasing them because they're already in a vulnerable position. But when you make somebody laugh, it kind of breaks their walls down. So I remember there was this little kid who was very stoic and wouldn't smile at all and was just very kind of serious. And I said that her secret to expert spelling was to never smile. And the audience loved it. And then the corners of her lips just lifted up the tiniest bit. And the audience loved it. And it made her feel comfortable and it made her giggle a little bit. So, there are ways to kind of try to make people comfortable. And also there are ways to make people a little bit more uncomfortable, which is also great.
My feeling was I'm a prop for you. I felt like I am there to be used in any way that you deem fit. And if it makes me look silly, not humiliated, but silly, that's fine. That's, suddenly if you're deciding to be part of the show, you're casting a role.
Yeah.
And not to say that you take advantage of it. I think you guys do it beautifully. But that's the mentality you need to bring to just have fun with it, to be sort of like used suddenly as this character. And I'm wondering, for both of you, there's the usual question about long runs, about how do actors keep it fresh, blah, blah, blah. But is it pleasurable to be in a long run? People in jobs, generally speaking, it becomes routine. Does it give you a certain ease with the rest of your life to know that you're not going to have to, for the next several months, worry about where you're going to be? Because it is such a common fear for actors to feel like, what the hell happens next?
I think it goes in waves, Peter. For me, it goes in waves. It's like sometimes I'm like, this is great. I've got a lovely routine. Going to the theater, I know what I'm going to do. I know when I get there, I know the people I'm going to see. It's very comfortable. And there's other times where it's like, it's a bit of a, like any job, it could be a bit of a drudge. And you're like, I'm very grateful to have this job. I'm very grateful to go and do this job and have these experiences. But at the same time, you're like, oh, I was just in the middle of something, and I got to make sure I get my dinner ready because I got to get to the theater.
Right.
And that's for someone like me who is like, my son is grown. Lily's got babies, which are like,
Right.
throw a whole curveball into the mix of there's no consistency at all. So
Yeah.
no, didn't mean to speak for you, Lily, but I'm assuming that's your experience.
Absolutely. I think there are a few ways to answer that question because, I could not be more grateful to just have a job, in this climate right now, in this day and age.
Right.
It's incredibly
Sure.
hard to even book a job, maintain a job, keep a show open. So
Yeah.
to know that we have multiple months ahead of us with a job, a great job, a fun job, and I will say a pretty easy job in the scheme of things.
Pretty easy gig.
We're like 100 minutes in and out, one act.
Right.
We each have like 1.5 songs. Like we get to sit down in the corner for most of it and make up jokes. So
Or all of it.
it's great.
Right.
But then also for me, there's the antsiness of what's next. And I think that that's also ingrained in us okay, I know there is an end date to this. So what will my next job be? And so we're actively seeking that out. We're all auditioning. We're all going to callbacks and doing readings and doing concerts and all that stuff. So there's the antsiness of what's next. And then there's also, which I don't feel in this, but there can be the drudgery of, doing 8 shows a week. It's tough. It's
Yeah.
a lot of the same.
Energy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's a lot of energy. But the gift that we have in this one is that it is quite literally new every night.
Mm.
I know every actor tries to make shows new every night because there's a new audience every night and you're doing it fresh.
Sure.
But this specifically
Yeah.
is so new every night that it really keeps us on our toes.
Yep.
Jason and I often say to each other, like, oh, if we zone out for 1 second, we are totally
Oh man.
screwed.
And
Totally.
we do a lot of sitting and watching because there's other people. Everybody has their songs and their moments, and you do tend to you're thinking once you get in place about what you have to do next, your mind wanders a little bit, and that is the kiss of death in this show because
is.
suddenly
Yeah,
you're
of
Mr.
course.
Q. Where am I?
Yeah. Get it. I get
It's
it.
crazy. Yeah, we're on stage almost the entire show.
Peter, so you volunteered to be a guest speller.
Yes.
And I want to hear, like, from your perspective, what was it like to be, because we haven't really talked about it. Like, what was it like to be on stage? And then what, did they clock you early and got rid of you? Or
Yes.
did you?
They got rid of me first. And I took that personally. So here's spoiler alert. They did it in Washington at the Kennedy Center previously. And in fact, Kevin McHale was in that production.
And so was Philippe Arroyo, and Leanna was in it as well.
Yeah. So I was asked to be a guest speller there too. And they gave me pineapple, by the way, Jason, and I got it right. And it was delicious. It was just pure fun to be in front of that audience. And at New World Stages, the other three spellers were all like, 19 or younger.
Yeah.
I was this, ancient speller, and I was a little bit self-conscious about that. I felt a little bit out of place, but the audience was so geared up to laugh. They were so ready that it encouraged you to be in the moment and just find your own joy in standing there. And I remember that when Jason gave me my word, and the audience roared because they knew this was ridiculous, I spelled the word that the previous speller had just gotten, which was intolerant. Again, I sort of did, and they laughed. It was like in the moment, and Jason rang the bell, and I was gone. I got my little box of apple juice. But as I said, I felt as if I was helping the production. I felt like I was participating for the cast.
Yeah, and those are the best kinds of guest spellers, like the ones who are just game, happy to be there, and ready to take whatever comes at them.
Yep.
Right.
Agreed.
And it was adorable because there was a tiny little girl who was the champion, and towards the end, and until almost the end, and she was unnatural. That's the other thing you find out. There are people who are just whatever it is. The realer and the more authentic they are, the better.
Yeah.
We had Lin-Manuel Miranda was one of our guest spellers once, and he brought with him on stage, for one of the other guest spellers, a schoolmate of his son. And this guy, he was a spelling bee champion.
Oh my
So
God.
I didn't know what to do with that. So I ended up giving him a word that I think it was just a foreign word or an ancient medieval word that there's no way he could have, he would have to guess something that wouldn't be in a real spelling bee. And afterwards, we met him and I said, well, what if I gave you this word? He was like, oh, I know that one. I'm like, what about this word? What about flossinausinilapilification? Oh, I got that one. Yeah, here's how you spell that. You're like, what? He's like, why didn't you give me that? I'm like, because I had to get you off the stage so we can keep going. But yeah, you run into some people who know their stuff. There was a woman the other day, Lilli. I think you were out of town for this one, but there was a woman the other day who I really wanted to get off the stage because she just was not. She came on wearing a crown from the Museum of Sex.
This is wild.
That said sex god. And I was like, we're at a middle school.
No.
So I kept like giving her harder and harder words and she kept getting them. And I had to go back to her a third time before the end of that.
No way.
It was horrible. It was horrible. I did write for the Rona that was on that day was Vanessa I wrote her a little joke that said, just to acknowledge it. The fact that this woman had a sex god crown, and I just wrote her a joke, and she said, I can't remember her name. Let's say it was Smith, and she said, Miss, a huge John Coltrane fan, Miss Smith thought her crown said sax god, which was like,
Ooh.
Nice.
just try to move it away from. So it's like
Brilliant.
this is the kind of thing that we have to do on a regular basis. Like, how do you diffuse this? How do you get that
Wow.
person off the stage?
Yeah.
And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. So
Whoa.
yeah.
It's amazing how it can derail.
Yeah.
There's a lot of audience participation in Every Brilliant Thing right now on Broadway. The one
Yeah.
with Daniel Radcliffe. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you've seen the show, but at one point there's a younger version of the Daniel Radcliffe character who's meant to say, as a conversation with his dad, and he keeps saying, but why? Why? And that's the only word that person is meant to say because it's a kid and he keeps saying, but why? And the dad gets lost in all these convoluted explanations. And that person who was supposed to say why was trying to do different line readings on each one. And there's something like 15, 16 why. And after a while, very quickly became so grating because you could tell. So he was doing all these pauses and he was really acting it up. I wanted him so gone because he was trying so hard to act it.
When I saw it, I was that character. When I saw
my
it,
God.
He assigned me that character. Yeah, I played his dad, and then I played him as a little kid. But I had the same experience as you did, Peter, which is you just feel like, all right, my job is to facilitate to help the production. Don't try to do anything more than just be as simple and responsive as possible in that place, so that you're not trying to make it about you. And when we have guest spellers like that, that's what we want. Thank you, Peter. That's what we want. We want people to come up and be like, I'm here. We had that last night. We had a guy come up and he got out and he was like, yep, I'm out. And that was that. But there are other people who try to act up. And if you're listening to this podcast and you come to spell at the B, don't do that. Stop yourselves.
Yes.
I have to say also, one of the thrills for me, this is pure honesty, was to get on a stage with Lilli Cooper and Jason Kravitz and Justin Cooley. I mean, these are, people whose work I respect, to be able to sort of be side by side and feel like a momentary sense of collegial responsibility was just magical. That's magical for me. And if you can tell, I mean, it's like, if you scratch the surface of any critic, most of them would say the same thing. Some wouldn't, some would run screaming from the room.
Sure.
But most would have that, because that's the pleasure, to be sort of, almost adjacent to what you guys do. And then, obviously our pleasure is explaining it to other people, but that was thrilling.
Thank you.
Great. Oh, I'm glad you had a good time. I was, we're very honored to have the people who come up on stage be with us. And I think, even with Lilli's talking about with teasing people and stuff like that, we really want it to be a good experience for people. We want them to have fun, because when they do, the audience has fun. And that's kind of the goal. Our goal is to make the show work for the audience. And so it's always lovely to have people who come up and enjoy being part of our group for that short time.
Yeah, it feels so special. And the audience is really rooting for them. Like when our guest spellers get words right, the audience is thrilled. It's so exciting. There are some people who think that the audience guests have been fed their words beforehand because they're like, how could that possibly happen? But it's so
Right.
wonderful that it really is this kind of serendipitous moment of these random people who would never be in a room together again
Right.
have this very unique experience, this once in a lifetime kind of experience. And
Mhm.
we love it just as much as the audience does, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. This is so much fun talking to you guys about the show. So we're thrilled that you joined us today for this conversation. Thank you. How long are you guys in the show?
I leave the show in early to mid May. I'm leaving the show then, and then the show goes on to September at the moment. Lily, do you know what your stories with it?
Yeah, I'm going through July. I'm taking a bit of the summer off to be with my kiddos. But yeah, the show runs until September as of now, potentially longer.
Great. Fantastic.
I'm so happy it's doing well. Like, I just love seeing that. Yeah, I was telling Peter earlier that it's also, there's actually a joke about it in the show that it's next door to Heather's, which I also really like. So people can do like a twofer, and it's a pretty good day at New World Stages, I would say.
Off Broadway's where it's at. People come off Broadway.
You got it.
Yeah.
Our show has a lot of fun and a lot of heart, and I think that's what really attracts people to it. So it's just a lovely time out.
I always tear up at that show too.
It sneaks up on you.
It really does. Like, I'm like, what is that moisture on it got me again. Like, every time. Like, it really, it's
Yeah.
without fail.
Yeah.
So Lily, Jason, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Peter.
having us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Wow, time flies when you're talking to such great guests. And we didn't even do one of those how do you spell sheer delight jokes. You know,
Oh.
I remember the reviews. Everybody did how do you spell funny?
Oh my
you know,
God.
F-U-N, you know, yeah, you're right. It became such
Jesus.
a yeah, anyway. We didn't do any of those.
Well, you kind of almost did right now.
Oh my God, Elizabeth, never mind.
Jesus, we're so bad. We're such hacks.
Yeah, I know. We really
We're
are.
totally
Thanks for joining us, guys. The 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee is running at New World Stages on West 50th Street in Manhattan, and I think it's open-ended. I don't even think there's
I think technically it's until September, but they keep extending it. And by the way, in the show, the current show, there's a joke about it playing next to Heather's the musical, and indeed, the revival of Heather's the musical, which is another big off-Broadway hit, is like right next door. So you could actually do a matinee and an evening seeing those two shows. I really like them both. So it's that's my tip.
Oh, is it? Is there anything else you've seen that you can recommend?
Well, I have to say I went in with a little trepidation, and I was really surprised by how much I liked Giant, which is the new play on Broadway about Roald Dahl, and specifically it's not a bioplay, but it's specifically about an episode in his life when he made some incredibly anti-Semitic comments in the early 80s, I believe, if I remember, something like that. But what really kind of bowled me over is the performance by John Lithgow in it, because there are moments where he looks completely like everybody's favorite grandpa, and he can turn on a dime into this. His face can look so malevolent. It's really stunning. I mean, you can see like, okay, like let's just have this guy play every serial killer from now on, because he was really chilling. So I really very much enjoyed that. And I have to say, I also really enjoyed the Tristan and Isolde at the Met,
Wow.
which has been mostly acclaimed.
5 hours.
It's almost 5 hours, but there's two intermissions, and you kind of get into that zone, which it really worked for me. And the staging is by Yuval Sharon, who's kind of doing a lot of great stuff in opera. It was a fantastic set by S. Devlin.
Oh, I love it.
So, and great use of video, which I know you could be like, oh my God, video again. No, it's really, really inventive. And singers are fantastic. So, I had a great time. And in a very different range, I also saw a very good high school version of An Enemy of the People. So a friend's daughter was playing the mayor in that production. And that play is so bomb. That play is unsinkable. It works pretty much all the time.
I agree.
Like, I'm not saying that the production was bad, but like really you cannot mess up that play. It's so sturdy and well built and effective that
And very relevant.
And very relevant. And like seeing a bunch of like high school kids doing it, I was just like, okay, well, this really works. Anyway. So that was very fun.
That's great. Well, that's a good lead in for me because I was in a play, and I just finished acting in a 29-hour workshop. And for those who don't know the rubric, the requirements, Equity has this thing where you can work within a 29-hour framework over a series of days on a new play, and it's a special category, and it was called By the End of Tonight by Trey Everett, billed as a very dark comedy. The subject is suicide, and handled really smartly. Anyway, we performed it twice at Columbia University for an audience, and it was such an enriching experience for me. I'm just going to shout out because I can. Our director, Tucker Tab D. Gregory, he's going places. He's a directing MFA candidate at Columbia. And I'm also going to mention my fellow cast members because I love them all. Mm-hmm. Justin Borak, Zofia Varetka, Molly Oldham, Megan McNeve, Shakiba Shadman, and Erin Lambertson. All wonderful. And even the stage managers were fabulous. Annika Acuna and Taylor Lang, and the dramaturgs, Sarah Wiley and Mari Tompkins. It was just a fulfilling experience. It really was everything I want to have happen to me as an actor at this stage of my embryonic career. So
you just forgot God and your agent, but other than that, your acceptance speech is pretty much ready. I think it's ready to go. You just it's gonna go.
Very good. Touche. Well, I hope you'll hear more about all of them because they're all worth hearing about. And that's it for us today. Please subscribe to our podcast at marksvincentelli.substack.com.
And follow us on... Oh, sorry. I'm cutting you off. I'm stepping on your line. I'm sticking on your line.
No, that's fine.
And follow us on social media. We use our real names, so we're easy to find. And our Instagram account is Marks and Vincentelli. Until next time.